Hey, everybody. Ooh, John McNeil. No worries. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Nice to see your lovely names. All right. How many of you are on campus today? Post your answers in the Q&A. Or maybe you can raise your hand. I don't know. Does that work? 4. Oh, yes, you can raise your hand. Oh, that's okay. They can raise their hand. Sorry. Well, it's pretty fun to be on campus and see. Today's the first day of first year move-in. So lots of confused looking families, but actually they're not confused. They look really happy and confident. So that's good. A beautiful day for a move-in day. And the construction site is not too loud today. Of course, I say that tempting the fates, and undoubtedly they will decide to do something really noisy as soon as we really get going here. Great to see a lot of faculty colleagues on here today. Welcome back. Yeah, sure enough, they just started banging on something over there. Oh boy. Anybody doing anything good in the kitchen these days? Any good cooking and baking? I just had lasagna for lunch where I made homemade lasagna noodles, which is actually probably the easiest kind of noodles to make, because then you don't have to slice them all up. But oh my gosh, was it good. With sauce made with tomatoes from the garden. Super delicious. My husband, the king of gardening and sauce making, is a key part of that. Ooh, muffins, Liz, those sound good. Oh, peach, right? Because it's peach season. Oh, homemade pesto from the garden, yum. I found out, I shouldn't, that's like TMI. I'm kind of not allergic, like throat closing allergic, but pine nuts, which I used to love, and now I can no longer eat because I get like, it's just, I have a bad reaction to them. So I can't do that like traditional pesto anymore. Yum, seafood fried rice. Wow, I don't even like seafood, and that sounds really good. Gnocchi from scratch. Wow. Never done that. Very impressed. Oh, you made it nut free. That's awesome. Yes, cashew. You know, the other one I have done before is pistachio pesto. All right, now we're all going to be starving, right? So we're all going to be like snacking during the entire thing. But this all sounds good. And then my husband and I both had I think it's time for homemade chocolate chip cookies moment at the exact same time on Sunday night. And that was bad, but it was so good. Always get excited when it's almost apple season too. This little tree in the neighborhood as we walk around that has little tiny kind of greenish apples on it that it's starting to drop already. And I picked one up to eat it. And John was like, no, it might be poisonous. And I was like, no, that's only in Disney movies. And it was actually quite tasty. Cucumber soup. I just got to type that stuff in the Q&A. Maybe you can't type things in the Q&A. Oh, you can. Homemade applesauce. Oh my gosh, how do you make homemade applesauce? You just like grind up apples, or is there more to it than that? That's a really good idea. Oh, okay. Panelists can type in the Q&A. All right. I feel bad for people that just come onto YouTube later to watch these town halls, and then they have to watch sort of 10 minutes of me reading out your whatever we're talking about, and you're writing in the Q&A. But this is like, it's the 5 minutes of social time before a meeting starts, right? That's like the thing I miss the most on Zoom, is that informal, as you're coming into the meeting and as you're leaving the meeting moments to catch up with people and just check in and see what's happening. Ooh, someone made blueberry jam. Oh, so you cook the apples. Okay. Yum. It does sound good. All right, I'm going off video for 2 minutes. I'll be right back. Keep the good food talk going. I'm gonna go stuff my face. No, I'm kidding. I'll be right back. Okay. Up to 200 on two. Oh, here comes everybody. The last minute. Give folks a couple more minutes. Jump in. Yum. Sally's Baking Addiction. I have done things from their website. It's really good. Yummy, yummy, yummy. All right, it's 3 o'clock. Welcome everyone. We're gonna give this another minute or two and let folks come on in. I know that a bunch of folks are doing move-in today, so they're not going to be able to be with us, some of our usual team here. We're too busy for town halls now. We're back. Whoa, gluten-free microwave mug cake. That sounds fantastic. That definitely sounds good. We should just have a town hall where people share their favorite recipes and books and TV shows and trips and pets. And I guess kids. It's National Dog Day. We should have had the dogs of WPI picks next time, maybe. Yes, okay. Tweet me your dogs of WPI for next time, or send it to me. All right, it's 3:01. We have over 300 folks on the Zoom, still going up, and approaching 100, I think, on YouTube. So got a pretty good crowd here. So we'll just wait for it to flip to 3:02 and then we'll get started. Unfortunately, you all get to mostly listen to me today, probably entirely, but maybe we'll have some other people hopping in to help me answer questions. Okay, let's get started. You go to the next slide. Kate, the wonderful Kate Beveridge, as always, here helping. So welcome everyone. It's lovely again to see you all in the participant list. Thank you for being a part of this and for so consistently showing up and engaging with us as we've worked our way through truly the most unprecedented and unique time in WPI's long history, I think. And unfortunately, that time isn't yet over, but we are at a real turning point here. And so I'm excited to share with you where we are and to share a few new things with you, update you on a lot of things you've already heard about, at least in part, and then spend some good time answering your questions. We have a panel of folks here with me who are going to be answering questions in the background. So if you have a question, you can type it into the Q&A, and either we'll try and get to it in the verbal Q&A part of this, or we can, and sometimes we'll do both, but you may well just get an answer taped to you as well in the Q&A. So here we are together, and I love this picture outside Salisbury Labs with some of just one of the essentially infinite ways the campus is just a bit different than it has been before, with the addition of these beautiful Adirondack chairs that are going to allow us students, faculty, staff, mostly students probably, to be together outside safely and in distanced ways. What we'll do today, again, my goal is to talk for no more than about half an hour and answer questions, and we'll be answering them in the Q&A. And let's jump on in. So next slide, please. So as I always do, starting with our North Star about keeping us safe and healthy. This has obviously been a time when the news about higher ed has been really front and center, and some people sort of questioning the thinking behind reopening campuses. And so we'll talk a lot more about our plan and how our plan is different. However, our plan is all about working to advance our students' education while keeping us safe and healthy. And so that remains our North Star, and that's unwavering, to support all of you as you deliver on the educational mission and the research mission of WPI. We're doing everything we can to keep our family together here. And again, good progress there. We've really managed to do that. And that's going to continue as long as we all keep working together here as we go forward and treating each other with care and respect and serving our broader community. We'll talk some more probably about each one of these things as we go through the presentation today. So if I had to sum up today's message in one slide, it would be the next slide, which has a lot of words on it, I'll tell you, but we're going to walk through it. But here's my message to you. We're ready. We're ready for where we are. And, you know, honestly, 2 months ago, I'm not sure I would have really imagined saying that as confidently as I am saying it today. We are ready. We're ready to be reopened. We're ready to be welcoming students back, which is a good thing because we are. We're ready to have faculty and staff in reduced numbers, of course, but back on campus. We are ready to deal with things that we're not, scenarios that we've imagined about what can happen. We're ready to deal with those things. And if we need to pivot and change, we're ready to do that too. So I just want to walk us through, and again, nothing on this slide should be a surprise to anybody at this point because it's all stuff we've been talking about. But I just want to do it one more time because I think we just absolutely cannot say it enough. So health and safety, there is no one thing, one action, one set of protocols that is going to keep this virus at bay. It is that layered approach, one on top of the other, on top of the other, that leads us overall to be in a much safer position. And those things include testing protocols, regular testing of everyone in the WPI community, which is really enabled by our partnership with the Broad Institute. I'm going to be sharing some data with you in later slides about where we are with all of that, and very good news about how we're looking. When we find positive cases, either through testing or in some other way, someone reporting being symptomatic, for example, our tracing, isolation, and quarantine protocols leap into action. And we've got enough isolation and quarantine space set aside, we believe, just as a check on that. So again, you might be asking yourselves, what about our plan is different than, say, UNC, who brought everybody back and sent everybody back home a week or two later? UNC was not testing everyone on campus. They were only testing people who were symptomatic. They were not even doing sort of random sample testing, which would have been better. They weren't even doing that. I don't believe that any of the institutions who have scaled back were doing the level of testing that we are doing. So the level of testing we're doing is high, appropriate, informed by science, really critical that everybody comply with that testing. I'm going to make my first of a couple of pitches here that if you are an on-campus employee in a term, if you're coming to campus even one day a week or every other week, you are in our weekly testing protocol, and you've got to be starting this week. If you're planning to start teaching next week and just haven't been on campus, I need you to come to campus sometime this week. You got to do your paperwork, you got to do your training, and you got to make an appointment and come get a test. Get in the protocol. That's the way that this works to keep us all safe. We don't have to have 100% compliance, but we got to have really high compliance with that. We got to get everybody tested. So please do participate in this. I mean, we, your employer, are giving you free testing. So please do take advantage of that. We're working on following up with those who we think should have been tested, but maybe haven't yet. So if you hear from us, please be responsive to that. In terms of testing of isolation and quarantine space, just for measure, we have about the same amount set aside that UNC did for their whole 30,000 person campus community. So we're much more prepared on that front than they are. Is it enough? We hope so, we think so. But again, we're gonna learn as we go. Symptom monitoring, I put the symptom tracker app there on the right side of this slide. The box that you probably want to be checking on, check the honest box, but most people on most days will be checking the second from the bottom, which says, I feel good, no COVID symptoms. And then you will get a little thing that pops up and says, great, you're cleared to come to campus. When you hit that okay, it goes straight back to the symptom tracker, which I think has a couple people confused. That's for your convenience. So it's right there again tomorrow when you go back and do it again. If you fill it out twice, it's no big deal. If you mess it up, do it again. I think I have this right. Maybe Patty can type something somewhere to confirm this for me. If you check the wrong box, which we've had a couple of students do, fill it out again, because I think it's your last, most recent input that, that sticks. So you can do that. Face coverings and distancing, super, super important. And for anyone who's been around campus these last week or so, as students are moving back in, incredible amount of compliance that I'm seeing with that. And anybody who might have their mask pulled down or something, just a quick little point to the face and they pull it right back up. Cleaning and disinfecting, very rigorous protocols. You'll see cleaning stations everywhere around the campus, in every classroom and every building. So that's a shared responsibility between us and our wonderful cleaning staff. And we'll be doing all that together. Visitor and vendor policies, we're going to be really strict about who we let on this campus. Those policies are posted. If you have questions, you can check those out online. Our facilities, I think we have to have a sort of round of Zoom applause for our incredible facilities team. Every single space on this campus has changed. They have reconfigured every classroom, every residence hall, dining halls, meeting rooms, offices. Pretty much every single space on the campus has been changed. We've done an amazing lift on the study about ventilation. I saw for myself the extremely detailed report that went building by building, classroom by classroom, other important space by other important space, and talked about, you know, what its status was, what we could do to improve safety, and we've done every single thing that was recommended, whether that's increase the amount of outside air that's being brought through the ventilation system, put in better, we changed every filter, we maintained every system, we upgraded filters in many of them. We made sure all buildings that don't have HVAC systems, but that use sort of windows as fresh air, we made sure windows are working in all the classrooms. I think we're putting in screens on everything. We've got some fans where that makes sense. And we've got filtration systems in certain classrooms that we felt it was important to go that little extra mile. But just know, and we will be monitoring all the way along to make sure that this is working well. So we brought in experts, a group of faculty reviewed the work of those experts, you know, faculty say from civil and environmental and architectural engineering who know about this stuff. All the restrooms look a little bit different. We'll be cleaning those high-touch surfaces extra times through the day. Signage, plexiglass, cleaning stations everywhere. It's just truly an incredible, incredible thing. So to Eric Beatty, Bill Spratt, the entire facilities team, a huge and deep thank you. Academic adjustments, the whole academic team, academic affairs leadership, and every single faculty member has adjusted the way they're approaching this term. And I thank them for that work, which I know in many cases was done over the summer when technically many of the faculty are not being paid. So I appreciate it so much. That's our Tech Flex approach. I'll show you some data around that. That's going to allow us to be de-densified in classrooms. And we've done, and through colleagues in IT and facilities and the Morgan Teaching and Learning Center and elsewhere, extra training for everyone involved in delivering this never before delivered curriculum, increased tech support in every classroom for every faculty member. Each faculty member has their own dedicated microphone for the whole term, the whole semester, the whole term. So they don't have to be switching with anyone. We've made those classroom modifications that I already talked about. So again, that's different, but it's done and we're ready. We have a focus on wellness here. And I want to really give a shout out to Jean King and the Arts and Sciences team who have put together a new slate of Be Well classes that are open to all of us, whether that's yoga or mindfulness. You'll be hearing more about those coming up. We want to thank them. We want to thank Charlie Morse in the Student Development and Counseling Center. You know that this is going to be a stressful time for students who already our students already run a bit anxious, and this is going to be stressful. So everybody is chipping in for that. I think the flexibility that we've worked to try and enable as much as we possibly can is meant to help people focus on their own health and wellness. And we do have support systems in place when things happen as we go forward. Obviously, student behavior is key. That's what we're hearing in the news about the other places that have struggled to stay open. We are definitely focused on that. I'll talk a bit more about it, about the importance of student adherence to the safe practices, whether that's distancing and mask wearing, or gatherings / parties. We're using both carrots and sticks here, and public health experts, if you're reading around social media on all of this, you will see the public health experts pretty strongly disagree with some of the very punitive approaches being taken by some of the other universities. Now, do we have consequences? Yes, we do. But our goal going in is to enroll our students in being a part of the solution here. And public health experts would tell you that's much more likely to succeed. So we've got some fun things we're doing that are testing with students, things like don't be that goat, which I'll talk about in a bit. So again, on one hand, a small number of really bad events could have a bad outcome for us. But students don't have to be perfect for this to work. There are safe ways for students to socialize where we're doing everything we can to get information about that out and to provide safe social programming for students. And these students really, really want to be here based on my interaction with them over the last few weeks. And so they are going to work like crazy to try to keep each other accountable so that they can all stay. So we are ready. This is a very comprehensive plan, and I just couldn't be more proud of the team that has worked for months to make this possible, to make possible where we find ourselves today. So let's talk a little bit more about testing. So as of right now, our public dashboard is live. Thank you. On the We Are WPI site, it should be there. I'm just refreshing it myself right now. There's the testing dashboard. It's right there on the We Are WPI site. You get you can click on it and you'll get to see something that looks kind of like this. I didn't take a screenshot of it. We sort of made something that looked like it, but this is the accurate current dashboard. I say that now. I've got to go look at it and just make sure I'm really right. Yes, it is. Okay. So, so here's the data. So this is from the tests that we've done in Harrington. So this is our testing facility that we've done in the past. It's basically 2.5 to 3 weeks at this point that we've been testing people there. But what you can see is the vast majority of those tests have happened in the last 7 days. We did 1,100 tests yesterday alone. So in the last 7 days, we've done over 4,000 tests at WPI with no positives. We also tested, we're getting still some of that data in as the first year students are just coming back, but some of the pre-arrival tests we did were quest tests that were mailed to students. Thus far, we have no positives there either. We do have 2 positive tests that happened very early on in our testing before students were back, and both of those are being handled. But so you can see, in Massachusetts, we were worried a few weeks ago when the positive test rate was getting near 2%. Now the Massachusetts positive test rate, as you can see down there in the lower right, has come way down. But compare that to our positive test rate. So we literally have had 2 out of 4,500 tests come back positive. This is very consistent with what most other campuses are seeing. We have a low level of disease in the campus community. This is an awesome thing. And what I'll say about the 4,500 tests they are a mix of some, what I would call pre-arrival tests, where we actually had sort of regional students drive to campus, do a test, go home for a few days, wait for the result, make sure it was negative, that before they could move in. Every single student living on campus has to have a negative test before they can move in. It's a mix of those. Students do an onboarding test as soon as they get here. And then they'll be in that routine testing program where they're tested. Many are tested twice a week, some tested once a week. And then the same for faculty and staff then need to be in that at least once a week testing program. If you are spending any significant time on campus, you need to be in our testing program. And it is my very strong preference, and I think even our guidance to you, if you are not working on campus until next week when classes start, pick a day this week, make your appointment, come in, take a test. Super easy. Lines are a little bit longer. I spent about 15 minutes in there yesterday. And again, it's not the brain tickler test, totally easy, front of nose swab, very quick. Your time in the actual seat to get the test is literally 2 minutes. It's very quick. And test results in 24 hours, very typically, if not shorter. So it's truly an amazing thing that we've been able to really make this work. And then we have on here a comparison to the data from Worcester, which They release sort of on a weekly basis. And so we've got that data here as well, just so you can see the results comparatively. So that's the dashboard, and it's going to be updated, I believe, typically every day at 4 p.m. I don't know. I think this is today's, so we put it up a little bit early, but typically at the end of, around the end of the day, we'll be updating with the latest day's data. So you'll be able to come back and check and see how we're doing. And this is a public site, so anybody can come and look. Next slide. So the other thing you'll see on that website for the COVID testing dashboard, and who am I kidding? You guys are probably all looking at this already, is our campus status level. And I talked about this at the last town hall meeting, that I would share with you today how we're thinking about campus status, and in case we need to ramp down or ramp back up, how that'll work. So right now we're what we're calling in the Tech Flex status, which we've colored green. If you go to the next slide, I'll show you all 5 levels. And this is a terribly busy slide, and I apologize. But just so you can start to see the kind of thinking that has gone into the way that we're working this. So in the black box there in green is our current status level, right? You can think of it like this is DEFCON 4 or something, right? So DEFCON 5 is, right? Yes, DEFCON 5 is a good one. That's like peacetime, all well. That's the white box above the green box, which will be like, woohoo, vaccine, back to normal, right? When we don't have to have everybody tested in Harrington, and we don't need to keep isolation and quarantine space available. And so we look forward to that. I do not expect that to happen this fall. And honestly, I'm not sure I expect it to happen this spring either. It's going to definitely take some time for these vaccines to get through and get approved. And we want the science to win there, and to have, have us, and even if something were approved, it's going to take time to be deployed. So where we are is in this Tech Flex on campus, which is this in-person, hybrid, and remote learning combined. We have some research operations. We do have some employees working on campus and some employees working remotely. As we think about what it means to be in that phase, I think about it in 4 different buckets, 4 categories. One is factors external to WPI. It's always possible that something that either the city or the state does could cause us to have to move to a different level, right? If the things got really bad in the state of Massachusetts and the governor had some other lockdown order, we would have to change level, right? So that's what that's about. Our testing at WPI, right? So what does our positive test rate look like? What do our trends look like over 7 days? We've set a level of about 0.5% per day, averaged over 7 days, because you might see some spikiness in the data like you do in the state of Massachusetts. And if all of a sudden we can't get test results fast enough, that could cause us to have to move to a different level. So testing is another category. The third, and my gut tells me that this might be the one that would drive if we had to change something, is the availability of isolation and quarantine space. As long as we've got more than 25% capacity in there, where I think we're fine staying in our Tech Flex, that would mean we'd have, up to maybe 75 or even a few more students in isolation, or in our isolation and quarantine space. And so that would mean we had a lot of positive cases, right? And so we'd want to really be thinking seriously about moving to another level, which I'll talk about in a second, what those other levels would be. And then the last one is a bit of a catch-all. There's kind of a lot of stuff behind that one on staffing and supplies, making sure we were able to have the cleaning supplies we need, making sure that, staffing doesn't go down in some critical area. And we'll be looking at a whole bunch of things that roll up to that assessment. And importantly, there'll be a group of us meeting behind the scenes very, very, very regularly. And working through to make sure that we're staying here in Tech Flex. And if we need to move, we'll move. The first thing we would likely do if things were getting worse is move to what we're calling a 2-week remote status, where we would have people not go home. Well, we would not send residential students home. We'd have everybody shelter in place. If you're following what, I think it's Notre Dame is doing this right now, where they basically do almost all classes online, have students stay in place, have off-campus students stay at home, to just reduce the number of people coming to campus, and see if there were outbreaks that we could get those under control and bring down our numbers, bring down our test rate, our rates and our numbers. We'd still have people come to get tested, so we understand what the disease is doing in our community. And again, the whole point of the testing program we have is to catch outbreaks early. It's not that we'll absolutely avoid them. The whole idea is to catch them quickly and be able to manage them. So if we're in this 2-week remote status, you see we have some things about what it might take to move back up to green, or if things got worse, you'd move down to orange, which is what we're calling limited on-campus status. That would be the time where we would tell the residential students, you really need to go home. And we would be phasing back more significantly who is working on campus. Not probably as far back, it depends on the details of the situation, but probably not as far back as we did when we were essentially shutting down in March. Importantly, on the 2-week remote and limited on campus, we're in very specific conversations right now about, okay, exactly who would be allowed to be on campus, which students might be allowed to stay, would students who need lab classes to graduate, would students who are doing lab-based MQPs be able to stay. Again, our goal is to get our seniors graduated. And so we would work really hard to make sure that we could accommodate those students still on campus if we needed to. And certainly some students who don't have a safe place to go, we would make sure we could accommodate them. But essentially that would be, the limited on campus would be much more significantly de-densifying the campus once again. And then lastly in red is where we had been in March, April, May, in the very severely limited operations where we're essentially fully remote except for those emergency responders. So that's the status levels, and we'll keep updating you about where we are. We'll have it right there on the dashboard so you see what status level we're in. Let's keep going and talk about a few other items. So listen, the students are back. And you know that by all of these piled high red bins. So move in is different than usual. It's spread out over many more days, just like move out was spread out over many more days. And by the way, if you see anyone from the residential services staff, whether that's Casey or Matt or Mary Beth, give them a socially distanced high five or hug or elbow bump. Because they are my heroes. They have done just an extraordinary job in organizing this move-in effort, staged over about 10 days. Not all days have move-ins in them, but spread out over about 10 days, because we are checking every single student as they come in to make sure that they are, they had their pre-arrival test, that they have filled out all their paperwork, that they have done all their training, that they are absolutely up to date on everything and ready to move in. We have to clear them. We have to get them moved in waves. We only let them bring one helper with them. They only get to bring one red bin's worth of material, although clearly some of them really thought hard about, they said the Tetris players win here because they could stack everything into the red bin. So go to the next slide and you can see some stats so far. We're about halfway through student move-in right now. Today is the first day of first year student move-in, and even within the first year student move-in, they're phased by where they live. So today it's students from the bad states, the states where you absolutely need that test within 72 hours. Most of them were able to get that at home, and they have to prove that they've done it. Most of them have uploaded that. If not, they can prove it in person when they get here. And if they aren't able to get that in their state, if it wasn't available or wasn't possible for some reason, they can come here. We will get them in to get a test immediately and immediately put them in the quarantine facility, which is why you saw a student in quarantine, by the way, in the dashboard. Is some students, until they get that negative test result, we are quarantining them. So we'll have a handful. You'll see that quarantine number actually go up tomorrow, probably because of the students that will be in our quarantine facility while they're getting that negative test. So you'll see it go up and come back down. And a special thanks to all of the volunteers. So yes, of course, that's me out there volunteering on Sunday morning, checking in students and parents. But there's been people from all across the campus that have volunteered to help with this, because it was a much more intensive process than usual. So thank you to you all. Next one. And then an incredible team of staff, RAs, CAs, and others at WPI who are really making this happen. All in good spirits. And I have to tell you, it was super inspiring to me to get to be one of the first people that folks talked to when they got back to campus, because so many parents and so many students just expressed such deep gratitude for all the work that we have all done to make this possible for them. So thank you to all of you who are making big smiles behind all these masks. All right, next slide. bit on academics, just an update here on the course plans. The numbers have shifted just a little bit from the last time we talked about it. So we've got more than 80% of the undergraduate courses will be either in person or hybrid. So they'll have some in-person experience, which is fantastic. No undergrad is going to have an all remote schedule. That's really great. Grad students, on the other hand, their courses are mostly online, and I think that's just fine. And they're doing well. Special thanks to Art and Terry, the deans, the department heads, for working through this course by course. And then also huge shout out to Paul Riley, the academic advising team, the schedulers, the registrars, Sarah Miles. Oh my gosh, you all are the GOAT, the absolute amazing team, because this is not easy work. And so thank you for doing that. So that's where we stand for those courses. I will say one thing about them. If you're a faculty member on the line here today, to me, one of the really, really important things is, because students will not physically be in class most every day, even if they will have class those days, it's really important that we get syllabi posted, but also just that maybe you're in touch with your students to make sure they really understand. I will tell you, like, my wake up in the middle of the night fear over the weekend was people won't know whether they're supposed to be in class or not on a given day, and too many kids will show up and it'll be chaos. So, take that group, that's your group of students, and do everything you can to make sure that they understand where they're supposed to be when, understanding that this is new for everybody. Everybody's sort of managing this in real time. And so again, greatly appreciate that this involves extra work for faculty as much as it's involved extra work for all the staff preparing for everything. It involves just as much extra work for faculty. And again, greatly appreciative, and know that the students are greatly appreciative. And I bet you're going to hear that when you see them, because they are just so thrilled to be here. All right, next slide. And speaking of our awesome faculty, they are ready. I love this slide. Chris Demetri gave me this slide, which is great. That is all about the fact that, we had some faculty who had formal training or online teaching experience before COVID hit. But now coming into A term, we've got about 80% of our faculty have either had formal intensive training over the summer, or had more intensive online experience. We didn't really count D term as real online teaching experience, because that was more of a, get it done kind of moment. And so our faculty are really prepared for this. And I, again, am grateful for how seriously they've taken the opportunity to really learn how to teach effectively in this very non-traditional mode. So thank you to them. Next. So yesterday, golly, I'm sorry. So this is about students and student compliance. So we're all worried about this, right? I mean, I think this feels like the thing we can't control. We're all about all the things we can control, and we've worked really hard to make sure we can. For the students, in many ways, a lot of this is up to them. And I think they know that at this point. The one good thing about all the negative press about what's been happening on other college campuses is everyone is darn well aware of exactly what causes things to go wrong. It's a combination of people behaving irresponsibly and not having enough surveillance testing to be able to catch it early enough to contain it, right? So we've worked on both those things. We've got the right testing plan in place, and now we got to work on the students to take on the responsibility. And here's the beautiful thing. So one, we've got a ton of creative people who've been thinking about this and working with our students in order to concoct some campaigns that they think are pretty funny. So ours, you may have seen BUs out there, which actually uses a bleeped swear word. We didn't think that was so much for our community, but don't be that goat. Like, don't be that goat. Come on, don't be that goat, is one of our campaigns around this. So we wanted to share that. And again, we're using students as our test group, and we're providing them with lots of different kinds of swag and good things to encourage one another to do the right things. Next slide. So yesterday, in addition to sharing our plans with all of you, I really think it's important that we don't lose sight of the fact that we are a part of a community. Worcester is not just our first name, it's our hometown. And I want to make sure that the leaders of the city of Worcester are really comfortable with our plans. So yesterday we actually had the mayor, the city manager, and one of the leaders of Worcester Public Health to campus, and we walked them around. We showed them the testing site, we showed them the campus center, we showed them some classrooms, we talked to them all about the signage and the ventilation and everything that we've done to all the things that you know about that we've done to prepare the campus and prepare the students. And they were incredibly grateful, incredibly positive. I have heard so many stories about campuses fighting with their local communities about reopening. We are so fortunate to be here in Worcester, where we've got leadership that's supportive and collaborative with us, and just very, very appreciative of us throwing open the doors and sharing our plans, sharing all our data. And we need their collaboration, because for things like contact tracing, it really is a collaboration between us at WPI and Worcester Public Health. For things like understanding, how we would have to adjust food service if we had a positive case. We have to work with them and they have to work with us. And so we've worked really hard to build those relationships. So as I start to wind this down, I just want to say a few words about what makes me confident. That's on the next slide. But first, I feel like we've all been pushing and driving really hard. So here's a dog in a watermelon hat to tell you that you are doing great, that we are all doing great, and we're going to get through this together. We're going to be okay. I hope you don't mind a little humor. I know it's a serious subject, but we've got to all find a little joy in this moment, and a dog in a watermelon hat seemed appropriate to me. So why am I confident? Our plans are driven by science. We have scientific thinkers all across this campus who we have tapped into as we do this work. We are problem solvers. That engineering mindset really comes in handy here. Our plans follow the best practices and we get expert advice. We continue to engage our medical advisory board on advising us on detailed questions. What should I do if? What's your best advice if? Because unfortunately there is no recipe book for how to run a campus in a pandemic. We are going to learn as we go and adjust. I think this is a really important point. We have really good plans. But this is the whole idea of theory to practice, right? I mean, this is why we make our students do the practice part, because things do change. And so one of the things I'm going to ask of all of you is some flexibility as we learn and pivot. It's not evidence that we have a bad plan. It's evidence that we're learning as we go. And let's come to it with that learning mindset. We're very committed to each other. I know everybody on this call is committed to WPI, and most of all committed to our students and to one another's health and safety. Know that I am as well. Our students are just as committed to us as we are committed to them. They really, really want to be here. And one of the pieces of evidence, I didn't put a slide on this in here, but anybody wants some entertainment. Usually I avoid Reddit like the plague, because it makes me crazy, the interesting people who sometimes post things there. But if you go on the WPI subreddit right now, you will find people calling people out all over the place. If anybody posts anything about social gatherings or parties, 20 people post, you better not do that. That's going to wreck it. Don't do that. Man, I will find you. I will totally rat you out. So the student self-policing is definitely happening out there on some of the more interesting social media posts. And they're into it, right? Like they realize they're part of the solution, and that gives me confidence. The other thing that gives me confidence on the next slide is this amazing team. So this is not quite all, but most of the CERT team that had the last meeting of this phase of CERT this morning. I want to give a special shout out to Philip Clay, who has been the leader of this team and the rallier of this group. Also to Emily Perlow, Eric Beatty, and John McNeil, who have led the detailed planning effort over these past few months, and everyone who has given time, energy, and support to this team. Sue Sontagrath has led a lot of operational stuff. Thank you to Sue. And every time I sit with this team and we hit a problem, we unpack it, figure it out, and move on, and that's going to continue. The next wave of CERT is really going to be about implementation. It's going to be about, and to me, I cannot say this enough, it is so important. One of the best things that's happened as part of this horrible moment we find ourselves in is the level of collaboration across different campus communities has increased. across different offices and different, between academics and student affairs and IT and everybody. That's got to continue. We've got to keep the communication and collaboration going so we can be as responsive as we need to be to our students and to what we see happening around us. If you see something, say something. I don't know how many more ways to say it. Like, you got to communicate about these things. But this team has got it done. And again, Zoom claps for the cert. So thank you so much. Couple more quick things. Actually, this one, I'm talking longer than I wanted. I'm sorry. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but normally at this time of year, I'd be getting ready to do a fall town hall where we talked about our priorities for the year. And I just want you to know that this year is about more than COVID. We will get into all this stuff more later because I think the next 2 weeks are still going to be pretty much head down COVID management as we get into the term. But please know this year is going to be about more than COVID at WPI. Yes, we're dealing with campus operations during a global pandemic. And you know what else? We're going to spend some time trying to reflect and learn from what we've gone through and what's come out of that. And that's going to impact our future trajectory. And we've got to learn from that. I want to be really clear that we have not forgotten about the importance of our racial justice work, what we're calling sustainable inclusive excellence and racial justice work. Jack Mullins sent out a letter to the campus community a while ago that talked about some near-term commitments around that. Things like launch of Alumni of Color chapter and some development with the senior team on racism, power, and privilege, the creation of a board task force on the subject. We're working on launching a bias reporting system. There's all kinds of things that we pledged to do in the near term in his letter. I'm here to tell you we've made progress on all of them. That's excellent. We'll talk about that more maybe at our next town hall. But the hard work is actually ahead because we're not going to undo centuries of racial injustice through a short near-term checklist. We've got to do some really tough examination of ourselves, some learning, some listening, and then some collective thinking. And that's not going to be a plan that I can come up with or any leader can come up with. It's going to be one that we have to do together. So I've been working really closely with Michelle Jones-Johnson in Talent and Inclusion, Rami Hanna, also Tiffany Butler, on putting together our next steps in this work, which will be about starting with our mission and values, which we were already working on updating our mission statement and values through the strategic planning process. We're going to bring that back up front and center and get that going. We're going to be doing a lot of listening sessions in September for different communities and constituencies. And I look forward to, we want to hear what comes out of those because we don't want to make a plan in absence of those voices. We want to hear those voices and make sure that our plans are being responsive to what we're hearing about the lived experience of people in our community. And then we'll be doing some intensive planning work around racial justice and sustainable inclusive excellence. And that's got to involve everyone. It's going to involve all elements of the all organizations within the campus. It's going to involve student government. It's going to involve faculty governance. It's going to involve the board. So very excited to bring everybody together and work on this together with the great support of our T&I office. But let me tell you, it's not the job of the Office of Inclusion to make us an inclusive campus. It's all of our job. Their job is to support us and help us in doing that, but it's our job to do it. So I look forward to doing that work with all of you. Strategic plan is another big one. We had that up and going, such great teamwork happening. We've got to get that back up and going. We're going to realign our 5-year institutional financial plan to this. Our finances, by the way, I didn't say when I meant to on the student slide, our incoming class is right about where we think where we thought it would land. It's still probably going to move around a little bit. The first year class is at about 1,300, probably come in a little bit under that, which is about where we planned for it to be. And grads numbers are still down a bit, although again, it takes a little while to settle out. We're probably pretty close to our budget plan, but we'll be working that over the next weeks and month or so, and we'll talk to you more about it in the future. What the good news is, it's not looking like we're going to be, and again, assuming we can make all this work and stay open and keep students here, it looks like we'll be in okay shape, and we are staffed for the level of students that we have. But we'll be back to you with more info on how we're looking financially in the coming weeks. It looks okay. I wouldn't say it looks great. I wouldn't say it looks terrible. I'd say we look okay. And we planned for a fairly down year. So we'll see compared to that plan how we're doing. And we'll report back to you all on that. But longer term, we had this 5-year institutional plan, which has gotten kind of disrupted by COVID. So we need to kind of reset on that and align it with our strategic plan. Research. Oh my God, speaking of money, research is killing it. And by the way, how do I know that? Because I have this fabulous mask that Bogdan just brought me. $56.2 million we raised last year in research. Congratulations, faculty. Amazing. Already have over 11 million in the door for FY21 already in the first 2 months. Incredible. For our TRT faculty, what you might have previously called an NTT faculty member at WPI, we're now calling TRT faculty, teaching and research track faculty. We have some more work to do on longer term commitments to TRT faculty on a teaching path to tenure. We have a good collaboration going with faculty governance on that, and I really look forward to continuing that work together in the coming year and coming to some conclusions and resolutions about that. Also, to me, very important in this bullet is full enfranchisement for all TRT faculty. That is a voice and a vote of being a real part of our faculty governance system, whether they're on a tenure track or not. Global school launch. Really, this is the year of the global school. We do have some dean finalists that are going to be visiting us in September. I think there are 3 of them. So stay tuned for more info on that. We have 2 other interim deans that we need to do searches for. So we'll be working that. We have accreditation work happening. ABET this fall, which is always a ton of work for our engineering disciplines. So, you know, more power to you, amazing. And then our NECHI, the whole campus accreditation visit will happen a year from fall. And so we're in the throes of our self-study. So that's a lot to do, in addition to, oh, you know, let's have a new Workday student launch later this year and build a giant new academic building behind me. So there's a lot going on, more than COVID. How you can help us, this next phase is on the next slide. I have a few things I'd like to ask of you. And I think it's really important that we stay together as we walk into these next couple of weeks, which are going to be high stress because it's new things for everybody. Practically everything we're doing is being done a little bit differently. So first, what I would ask of you is be a role model. Please follow those health and safety protocols. And especially get tested and use that symptom tracker. Again, I will ask you, if you are planning to be on campus starting next week, I need you to figure out a way to come in one day this week and get yourself tested. Make sure you got your paperwork done, make sure you did your training, and then schedule a test and come in and do it. And start using that symptom tracker, even if you're not on campus. You can still use it, especially if you're gonna be on campus, use that symptom tracker. Empathy goes a long way right now. People are anxious, and showing some empathy to them, I'd be grateful for that. I also think you should get ready for if you haven't been to campus, when you come back and you see the students, I have been overwhelmed with joy in seeing the students. I have just like the idea of finding some joy right now. You think I'm not sure I can do that. I'm telling you, come to this campus and you will find some joy because these students are just exuberant to be here. Confidence. Not everybody's on this call with us. I hope that many of you are gaining confidence every day in our plans. Many workplaces are operating safely. We all know people who are working, and I really believe that we can too here if we pull together and do this together. I think thinking now about what you might say to someone as you're walking across campus and you see a student with their mask down, or someone walks into your class without a mask, think now about how you might respond. So one response on the mask thing is, hey, did you forget your mask? You know, they sell them in the bookstore, or pretty soon, I think this week, I hope there's going to be vending machines that have masks in them. There'll be some stashes of them in different offices around campus. I don't actually know where, but maybe somebody does and can type it. I don't know. So, you know, just, hey, did you forget that? Or hey, your mask is down, you know, pull it up. Most people just like, oh, sorry, and do it right away. So that part hasn't been an issue. And saying, you know, oh, I'm just going to take a step back so we can make sure we keep our distance. It's easy to forget that stuff. Just think now about what you'll say. Flexibility, I already talked about. Protocols are going to change over time. Again, hopefully not a lot, but it could either change because we learn how to do things better, which I'm sure we will. It could change because something external gets imposed on us, which we'll let you know about. So be flexible, be ready to adjust. And then my last request, and we're already seeing a few issues with this. So again, I'm just being straight up with y'all. Be kind, be respectful, be curious. So when something isn't working the way you expect, an answer, a position of, I wonder why that is, and I wonder if there's something I could do to help, or some way I could get more information, or something, you know, if you approach that with curiosity rather than crankiness, anger, and disrespect and unprofessionalism, that would be super helpful. Everybody is really under pressure. Our teams have been working flat out for months, as have the faculty getting ready. Everybody's been working really hard. This is a moment when we've got to be extra kind and respectful. Everyone is doing their best, and we need to assume that everyone is doing their best in this moment. We need to expect the best of each other and treat one another as if they deserve to have that way of thinking about them. So that's my ask of you. And very lastly, if you have questions, obviously we're going to take a few now, even though I talked way too long, sorry. On the next slide, my ask is go to the We Are WPI web pages and FAQs as a place to start. Talk to your supervisor. So we're getting back into more normal operations here, right? Your supervisor or department head should be able to help you, or if it's a question for a specific organization, go ahead and send it to the person that is your contact in that organization. So start with trying to go to the source and find the information. But if you have general academic questions, you're not sure where they should go, you can definitely send an email to virtual@wpi.edu. And if you're really just not sure who to ask or not getting a good answer, you can definitely send an email to wearewpi@wpi.edu. And last slide, that's it. The students are back, we are together, and here we go, we're ready. So thanks to everyone for being here. And I have not been able to pay attention at all to the Q&A. Kyle, I'm sorry, we don't have very much time for it, but I'm happy to take some questions.
Sure, thank you, Lori. First question, will campus buildings open up for general access, or will they remain key card access only?
Key card access only.
And how might sorry, do you have a follow-up?
Nope. Everything's going to be locked. So the hours of buildings and things will be similar to usual in terms of access, but you will need a key card to get into every building.
Thank you. And how will the number of people in the campus center or other more open access buildings be managed?
So the campus center will have, so we have reservation systems for most all of the dining. That's probably something I should have put on one of these slides. So that is actually live now, I think, because I actually made a reservation with it the other night. If you go, I'm sure there's something on the website about it. It's an app called Dine on Campus, I think. And you can download it and look for WPI, and you have to sign up and create an account, but then you can make reservations. So and then they'll have people managing traffic going into the various food locations. The furniture has been de-densified in all these locations so that people cannot sit in an overly dense way. So all those things will contribute to it.
Thank you. Question around the visitor policy. Would faculty or staff who are not on campus during a term qualify to use the visitor form to visit their offices?
Yes, that's my understanding. And if anybody else wants to jump in and help me with this one, but if you're not on campus normally, but you need to come and get something from your office or need something, you can absolutely use the visitor policy. Do I have that right? Somebody?
Yeah, Lori, this is Sue. Yeah, actually just live this afternoon, there is an option to select employee in the log so that a supervisor can log a remote employee. You do have to get approval through your department head or your supervisor to come, but that is live today.
That's great. And that's just, again, we're trying to kind of track. So that's great. Thanks, Sue.
All right, thank you both. Regarding the dashboard, was there a conversation around perhaps separating out faculty and staff results from student results?
Obviously behind the scenes, we'll be looking at that. But the feeling was that this was probably enough for a public facing dashboard. We can certainly have discussions about it if people feel strongly, but again, we want to really try and be as respectful as we can of people's privacy. And I think if it's only small numbers and say a faculty member all of a sudden isn't in class, and then we, so it's just, it might be too easy for folks to figure out kind of what's going on. So we got to be sensitive. We got to balance privacy concerns with public information concerns.
Thank you for that. Do you expect there to be any extra long lines on particular testing days? Someone asked me, maybe are Mondays going to be the most popular day as the beginning of the week?
So we're staffed up for the days as needed. So the answer is I don't think so. Like, they have more testing stations open on busier days, but I don't know. Philip, do you have a thought?
Yeah, and we answered this in the chat, but basically all students have been assigned a particular testing day or testing days, and that's to spread out over the course of the given week with our testing days. While they are assigned a day, they each actually have the ability to pick their own time during that day. And so part of that was to make sure that we were testing students who live in different areas and residence halls on different days so we could catch a potential case sooner. But it was also to really distribute the flow throughout the day. So Monday won't be any busier likely than Thursday or Sunday. So
that's true. Thank you, Philip. Yeah, students have assigned days. We get to pick. So that flexibility is good for us. And yeah.
Thank you for that. Regarding the symptom tracker, and given the variety of ways that COVID presents, will WPI be capturing any specific symptoms to help pinpoint which symptoms may be indicators of an outbreak on our campus?
So as soon as someone checks that they may be having symptoms, they will get outreach from our either one of our health services staff. And so we will be tracking, we will be talking to them about what kind of symptoms they're having. What I'm reading lately is that it's often fever that is one of the first things that shows up, not so much the cough, which I think is interesting. I was sort of conditioned to think every time I coughed, right, I'm like, oh no, that's it. But yeah, so we will be collecting more information, just not in the app itself. And again, the number of people, so, on the very first day, over 1,000 people did the app. Some really tiny number of people checked anything other than I'm good or I'm not on campus. So it's still statistics of really tiny numbers, and those people are going to be individually outreached to.
Thank you. Have you heard anything from other colleges in the area, how their openings are going?
Yes, I probably talk to 50 other college presidents every week. We meet weekly with all the HECMA presidents, which is the Central Mass colleges, and I also meet weekly with all of the ACOM presidents, which is all the private higher ed. I'm actually the chair of that this year. So Clark is going well. They have they had also a small single-digit number of cases in their initial wave of testing. They're about a week ahead of us. They started classes this week. I did see somebody, actually one of our trustees has a grandson at Clark who said, he's got 2 in person and 3 online courses. And I went, oh my gosh, he has 5 classes. I'm so grateful for our system where our students have 3 classes or maybe even 2 classes if they're like my kid and dropped one already. And so can you imagine trying to juggle 5 classes with this kind of schedule? Oh my gosh, I think we're really actually very fortunate with the way that our term system works. But yeah, so they're doing well. Haven't heard anything bad about Worcester State, and they're also bringing students back, but I think they're a little bit behind us in terms of timing. UMass Medical School has been back for over a month. They're doing well. Anna Maria is bringing students back right now. They're doing well. They start about the same time as us. And then the others are mostly remote. So obviously people might have read in the news about the fact that Holy Cross students are still here and partying, and that's unfortunate. I think that's the challenge with going all remote, is it just your ability to impact the behavior of students goes down even further. But yeah, so overall, I think things are going well. And the broad testing is going very well for everyone.
That's great to hear. Thank you. I think we have time just for one more, and a couple of folks have asked about a flu clinic or flu shot clinic on campus. Will that be happening again? Yes,
it will. It absolutely will. And for stay tuned for the plans. Obviously, we got to get through these first couple of weeks, but now the state has mandated that all students up through university have flu shots. So we're going to have flu shots on campus. And so we will absolutely make that possible for faculty and staff as well. And while it's not required for faculty and staff, it's really, really strongly encouraged. Just because, and again, my hypothesis is because we're all wearing masks and staying apart from each other, we're going to have a pretty light flu season. But still, once we're into flu season, the symptoms are so similar that it could make things much more difficult. So getting that flu shot this year, especially, is going to be important. I'm one of those people that doesn't always remember to do it, and I'm going to do it this year. And I would ask all of you to as well. I can take a couple more if we want to stay on. I'm okay for that. If you'd like, Kyle.
Okay. Sure. Another one popped in. How many students in the class of 2024 will be joining us this year?
So we're at just about 1,300 right now. So we were going for about 13. We started at 1,280. We upped it to 1,320 when we got nervous about the size. We're going to probably, if you made me guess right now, we'll probably end up between 1,280 and 1,300. So that's okay. That's pretty much in line with where we were hoping we'd be. And they seem like a great class. In terms of the number of students that are going to be studying remotely overall, it's about 1,400 students, but split almost evenly between grad and undergrad. So it's about 75% of our students will be coming to campus in some form, and about 25% will be studying remotely. And that includes some members of the first year class.
Thank you for that. Could you clarify? So some people have either existing health issues or allergies that show similar symptoms as COVID. How should they fill out the symptom tracker?
I have allergies, and I think that, so I would definitely welcome any of our medical professionals if they're with us to jump in here. But to me, it's, do you have symptoms that are unusual for you? That I think is the right way that I think about it. So I have the sniffles and a little bit of a sore throat, and I cough for 5 minutes every morning. Like, I just know this is what I do every day because yes, let's get to know Lori Day. Yay. I have allergies. And so I try to be very thoughtful about, do I feel different than I normally feel on an allergy day? So I think that's really how we're looking to have you fill it out.
Thank you for clarifying. I think we have one more. I'm not sure if this is in your purview. Are there guidelines for purchasing or acquiring office supplies for faculty and staff working remotely?
We were doing some of that in D-term. I think we might have to get back to you on that. Again, we're really trying to minimize non-essential purchases, but obviously, if something is essential for doing your job, then we need to work on that. Let us work that one and see if we can get some guidelines out for people who are working remotely who might need to do purchasing.
Thank you for that.
That one offline. Thank you. All right. Well, maybe we'll wrap it up then. It seems like we answered a bunch of questions, and for those who we didn't, we will either get back to you or we'll definitely get back to you. So listen, I want to thank everyone again. This has been an enormous effort to get us to this point, and we will stay in close contact, close touch. We will be letting you know what's happening, please be kind to each other and get ready to enjoy seeing our students on this campus again. So thanks, everyone. Bye.